Here we are, finally live after many minutes of figuring out technology and logging in and reconnecting and the things you really appreciate technology to do, even when it's being funky. There's still a way to figure it out and it to be minutes versus hours or days or having to reach out to a tech person to take care of, right? But that's not what this episode's about today. It's a part of it. It's definitely a part of it, but it's not the main piece. We're continuing along this journey about really taking our power back from money, from circumstances, from situations, from other people. How about this one? From other people's beliefs that we've made fact, or our own limiting beliefs that we've made fact about money and how we use it and how we don't use it and what we allow it to tell us what we can do or can't do and all the things that actually, I want to start this with a really fun story. I'm going to go off my notes a little bit here. My notes keep me on track to keep me under my 20-minute mark when I do my best, and when I don't, I over deliver and it's still good. But I was just preparing the house for a cleaner to arrive. Who does that? I do. No, I was just trying to get the linens into the washing machine. So I wasn't trying to do too much so that the cleaner could go ahead and take care of remaking the bed when she was done. Well, the day before, I woke up at my normal time between 5:30 and 6, and I heard something in the kitchen, and it was found out to be a frog. So a frog somehow made it into our house. And for those of you who don't know, I live about 15, 20 minutes from the international airport in Orlando in this beautiful little area have lake access to Lake Mary Jane on about 3 acres at the dead end of the street. And our property backs up to a big possible preserve / farm / whatever. So it's just a bunch of pine trees. So we get critters in our house. Luckily, they're usually little critters that we can just, capture and release. Well, this frog was annoying and jumping around fast. And for those of you who, again, don't know, I don't really love frogs and lizards. I feel like they're unpredictable in how they move, and I don't like that. Snakes, on the other hand, don't really bother me that bad, but lizards and frogs. And yeah, so that's something I'm working on, right? But my cats and my dogs are really good at capturing them. Sometimes they are fatal when they capture them, but at the end of the day, I was just like, okay, I'll let the dogs or the cats take care of this one. It was just a normal frog. It wasn't going to hurt them if they did. Well, it ends up in near the massage chair in the living room and up in it. And I'm like, great. How do I tell the cleaner that there's going to be a frog in the massage chair? Well, have you know, the next morning I wake up and there's a dead frog on my bedroom floor. So it made it all the way from one side of the house to the other side of the house. I'm assuming my cat brought it in to honor and say, look, Mom, look what I did. I knew you were freaking out about this frog. You kept putting me over near the massage chair. I kept sniffing it out, couldn't find it. Because my cat was waking me up around 3 a.m. and then 5 a.m., coming into the room and meowing. And he never really hangs out in our room. He has so many other favorite spots in the house. So luckily I didn't step on this frog, but I did see it. And I don't know if you know this as well, but frogs can play dead. So even when they're on their back doesn't mean they're dead. So in this case, he was. But in the past, I found a frog and I told my husband, can you please get rid of this? He knows how I feel about them. He's my knight in shining armor when it comes to critters. And he's like, whoa, that one wasn't dead. It jumped back up and it came alive and blah, blah, blah. Now I can't find him. And I'm like, great. So we found this out. My daughter thinks it's hilarious. At the end of the day, this one's definitely dead, but I still put a plastic container over it and stick a book on it. And that's my signal that there's a critter. Can someone please take care of it for me? And I didn't put a note on it. So that's why my husband didn't take care of it, which is why I'm leading to the point of this whole story about money. I then go to my 9, soon to be 10 daughter. And I said, Katie, you love critters. You love lizards. You love frogs. You love holding them. You love playing with them. Great. Do you mind taking care of this for Mommy? I will pay you. And I also wanted just to face her fears if she was a little nervous or scared. And I probably could have led by example, but instead of, I like to teach you how to fish and then help you watch you fish. That's just how I roll. But if I had to, I would have taken care of it, right? My girls were toddlers. Obviously, I would have had to do something or left it there for my husband when he got back from work. Long story short, she said, yes. I'm like, great. How much can I pay you? And she's like, $100. I'm like, okay, for $100, I'll go put on some rubber gloves and I'll take care of this frog because he's definitely dead. Now, if he was alive, I may have considered $100 to give to my daughter. So I said, how about 10? And she was like, okay, 12. So she negotiated up and I said, offer done. Like I didn't have to take her offer, but I wanted to empower her to know that she can stand in her power and like counter offer at any time. And she can stand by what she wants. Now, I even could have told her to stand by the $100 and mommy will just still take care of it and you'll see that. But I also wanted her to step into her worth and her confidence. And it was really, really cool that A, I didn't have to pay her $100, but B, to watch how the interaction happened just so flawlessly and effortlessly and just automatically. And she's never seen me barter like that before. It just came out in a natural, cool way. So that's what this episode's really about. It's about taking your power back from money, respecting it and receiving it, right? At the end of the day, receiving, respecting, and that reciprocity of give and take, right? As a recovering people pleaser and just growing up, like I loved giving. I still love giving. It's one of my love languages. I like to give and I love when people receive. I've had to practice to learn to receive because I know how good it feels to give. And I'm like, wow, the other person on the other side, by me saying no, I'm blocking their reciprocity and feeling of giving, right? Because I'm not receiving. But I also had to come to learn that, like, if I receive something that I really, really don't want, I got to make sure that person doesn't do it again or give it again. Like, I was just talking to a friend in South Florida and how she didn't like a certain drink that another neighbor was making and giving to her. And she just said nicely, thank you, and brought it home. I'm like, you got to be careful. Cause like now what if she makes you that all the time? And here she goes to think you love it and you're dumping it down the drain, right? So the reciprocity and the truth and honoring your truth and not trying to people please and just honoring your word and not making it a big deal and be like, wow, I like this better. Like this was cool. I've tried it. It just doesn't work with my palate. Thank you for sharing that with me. I really appreciate it. Actually, I had other guests over and they really enjoyed it. But this is where I tend to like lean towards. Here's the flavors. Here's the things that I enjoy more. By the way, could I make this for you? So then there's this give and receive, which isn't like shaming or blaming and nobody feels guilty, but it's good to be on both spectrums of that and learning and honoring. And it's just, it's a whole piece of just respect, right? Honoring your word and honoring theirs, but also respecting the differences that may pop up throughout the process, right? So the whole focus today is about money mindset. And it is your access point to true freedom. Like if you really think about how the world works, how, at least in America, right? Money tends to be that true freedom. I used to say the very first taste of true freedom that I remember, that I really remember like feeling like freedom, is getting behind a car and driving away for the first time by myself. Like, wow, true freedom. I can go wherever I want as long as I have money to what? Put gas in the gas tank. As long as I have money to pay for the insurance. As long as I have money to pay off the car payment, which in this case, I was blessed. I got gifted, catch this, a sea foam green Ford Taurus. Seafoam green Ford Taurus as my first car. Where my cousin, 4 years older than me, he got a Corvette. A beautiful, I want to say it was white, but I honestly really don't remember. I just remember it was a Corvette, and I really wasn't into Corvettes, but I knew it was a fancy sports car. At 16, right? So I'm grateful because I have wheels. I have freedom. I have freedom to what? Also go make more money because I can get a job. I didn't have to rely on anybody. And I lived in the country in the middle of Ohio. I couldn't just go hop on a bus and get to work. I couldn't even ride a bike to anywhere to get to make money besides the neighbor. The neighbor, I remember, she was my first boss. She hired me to mulch and landscape her acreages. When I say acreages, like she had tons of land that she wanted mulched and flowers planted. It was great. I loved it. It was fantastic. First job, babysitting, I guess, is a first job. But I remember when I couldn't drive, my parents had to either drop me off to babysit or the people who hired me had to come get me. And they were usually like down the road, which could be a mile, right? So I'm not walking home at midnight by myself in the dark in the country road for a mile. Though this money mindset and it giving you access to real true freedom, like, do you remember what it feels like to be truly free? Do you feel that right now? Or do you feel limited in any way due to money, circumstances, situations, people, or your own limiting beliefs? So we're not going to dive too deep into all of those, but we are going to dive deep into some of those. So just because your revenue dips doesn't mean your skills are taken from you, or valid and void, or I should say not valid, or void and unvalid anymore. So a lot of my clients are entrepreneurs, most of them in the health and wellness space. And so when their revenue dips, what I see as a consistent pattern is they feel like their skills are either no longer relevant, or they have to go get another certification, or they need to up their skills, or they're no longer valid, right? And that's just not true. It's just simply not true. Like, dips are very normal. Now, the extreme of your dips, we can work with that. That doesn't have to be so extreme. I mean, I had a client go from like a 48K month up to 125K month and then back down to 78K month. That's extreme dippage is what I like to call it. We don't want oscillation to be so extreme. It's just like when your heart beats, it's oscillating, it's contracting and expanding, it's contracting and expanding. And you don't want it to be inconsistent, because then the blood flow is inconsistent, the oxygen getting to parts of your body, and you're right, and this is how people have health challenges, right? So I learned this firsthand personally. This is where I really want to share. I have so many client stories around this that I could go deeper into, but the one that rocked my world the most is when a company I loved and worked for, the one I thought I'd never leave, I'd never even retire from, um, it was sold. But I didn't know this. This is the part that really rocked my world, is I didn't know this for another 6 months. So when they let me go, I didn't know they were being sold to a Fortune 100 company. I was just told I didn't fit in. And I was like, "What? I am walking the talk like more than half the people in the company." This was a wellness company. This is where we taught people energy for performance on the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual levels, and viewing the body as those energy compartments and containers. And how do you fuel and recharge each container to thrive as a holistic human being? It's just like, as you can tell, I ate this stuff for breakfast. I walk the talk at work. I walk the talk outside of work. And I was one of the first ones to be let go. And at the time, that role was my identity. It was the title. It was the prestige. It was the performance. It was who I was and I identified with. And then when it was all taken away, I felt like they took my worth with it. And this was in my early mid 20s, like, identity taken away. But here's the truth. No one can define your worth except for you. Not a title, not a paycheck, not a circumstance. No one can define your worth without your permission. So if you're giving somebody else permission, or your limiting belief of your own permission, we must check ourselves before we what? Wreck ourselves. That experience taught me the difference between attaching identity to external validation versus claiming my own value internally first. It goes back to claiming it first, being it first, knowing it, like an inner knowing in the heart space of your gut and intuition, and not just a logical knowing. It takes courage. It takes confidence. It takes a hell of a lot of both, actually. I'm not going to lie. To actually say this moment doesn't define me. I do. But guess what? I didn't have anybody in my corner that day to tell me that. Ironically, I'll cap the story with this. Ironically, I hired a sales coach. I was an account manager for this company. Way different than sales after I found out. It's more like an order taker, but had this account management, regional account management, right? Anyways, going back to the point of this, I hired my first sales coach. I had my first call booked with him on a Friday. I think I was let go on a Wednesday or a Thursday. Oh, with mind you, a very healthy severance package. I didn't even know what a severance package was then. I didn't even want it. I loved the business. It didn't matter. It was tens of thousands of dollars. And it didn't matter that there was documents that if you don't sign this and legally, blah, 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 blah. There was a lot of just very scary lawyer verbiage that was just ick. And I didn't have one in my corner to trust, to lean on, to ask questions, to say, Is this really fair? Do I even want to go back there? Obviously, I'm not wanted. And obviously, my identity's gone too. And that's what I told the salesperson. I called them and I said, hey, in tears, the only thing I have to sell right now is myself. And I don't even believe in me. And that was my truth. It was a limiting belief that I made true because it's truly how I felt in that moment because I was grieving. I had just lost my identity. Yes, it was a job. It was a very well paying job, but I lost my identity. I allowed myself to lose my identity. And that's part like you have to honor the grieving process too. You can't rush it, by the way. And I can go really deep into this based on, as you many of you know, I lost my first love to a car accident. I've lost many loved ones before the age of 22 to freak accidents and had to experience like so much heartache and loss at a very young age. Uh, Fourth grade, uncle, a kid accident, like so many things I had to witness and grow through so much that I didn't even like the smell of flowers. I still don't like the smell of lilies to this day. Like they remind me of funerals. When I got pregnant, when I got married, I chose the calla lily because it doesn't really smell. It's a pretty, beautiful, elegant flower. And I didn't want the smell of flowers at my wedding because again, it triggered in me. And now I've radically changed a lot of that, by the way, and the meaning and the truth behind how I feel there's certain flowers that I do really enjoy now. Still don't like the smell of lilies, but I do really enjoy other ones. But the point of this is to say, it really takes massive amount of what? Courage and confidence and someone in your corner to say, this doesn't define me. I do. And this is what's all in the coaching that I teach, not just in my sales coaching. Yes, there's a lot with the sales coaching, but what's behind all the sales coaching is decision mastery. Is stop giving your power to money, to roles, to results, and start anchoring to who you truly are, no matter what the bank account says. You either give permission to your beliefs and stories to hold you back, or you decide differently. Rewrite the story, rewrite the belief, rewrite the thoughts. And the quick truth around this is your worth isn't tied to a number. It's tied to how boldly you own your truth. And what are you making true? What are you making true? You could stop here today and just work through this, journal through this, and see what pops up. And it'll probably give you enough to work on for a lifetime. This isn't like a check the box one and done. Sorry to burst your bubble, but you're welcome. But at the end of the day, this is exactly what's required to go to the next level. You've heard me say this many times. What you desire on the other side, like I just had a client have continuous 30K cash months just as a closer for a company that has 150 closers, and he remains at the top of the leaderboard. Why? Because he knows his truth. He is confident. He is convicted. He knows there's still room to grow. He's humble. He's coachable. He's constantly sharpening his saw. So what he's also not doing, he's not making permanent decisions on temporary feelings. That's leading me to point 2 today. Not making permanent decisions on temporary feelings. If he has a crap day and hears no more than yes, he's not making decisions off his feeling of like, crap, I must suck, right? Because we're going to feel certain things. This is one of the biggest blocks I see both in life and business is waiting, right? Making that permanent decision on the temporary feeling of this is scary. I don't know. It's uncertain. So therefore it's not familiar. And if it's not familiar, it's not safe. I'm here to tell you, you're blocking yourself from your own shot. You truly are. What I can tell you is that many people are waiting. I've even caught myself waiting to hire another house cleaner recently. I've waited far too long for that, by the way. Waiting until the savings account hits a certain number, waiting until the launch is perfect, waiting until you feel ready, which, by the way, ready is not a feeling. You either do or you don't. You either are or you aren't. There's no in between. And so whenever somebody says, yeah, when I feel ready, okay, how will you know you're ready? You just told me it's been 10 years and you've been struggling. You just told me you're getting another certification and you still haven't launched. When will you know that you're ready? Well, I'm ready when I know what to do. Great. I'm more than happy to help you figure out what to do, but will you do it? Because what I'm afraid is you'll say, okay, I'll do that when I'm ready, once this is ready. What? Yes, this is what I get to hear on coaching calls or prospect calls or sales calls. But I don't tolerate that. I don't allow it to be a part of the truth. So here's a good reframe for this. Every time you delay what you desire because of fear or doubt, you're making a permanent decision on a temporary feeling. I'm going to say this again. Every time you delay what you desire because of fear or doubt, you're making a permanent decision on a temporary feeling. So, what are you delaying because of fear or doubt? And are the fear and doubts possibly limiting beliefs because you just don't know what you don't know and you've never experienced something like that before? And how do you want to flip the script? You're postponing your power, your progress, your potential, the momentum you could already be building. That's all you're really doing. It's just like I have so many clients right now are in the middle of massive growth, massive growth. One going from her best month, 200 and something K. And we're training 3 new reps right now. We are in the trenches. I almost actually canceled the podcast today. I'm going to be honest. Like when my computer was having me relog in and signing me out, I'm like, okay, is this a sign? Yes, it's a sign if I believe it's a sign or it's not. Right? So you tap into your intuition and you say, what I love to do. Yes, I love to show up. I am stoked about talking about these topics today. I am stoked to talk about how taking your power back and respecting and receiving and reciprocity. I'm stoked to talk about how to not let your bank account define you. I'm stoked to talk about not making a permanent decision on temporary feelings and how to calm your nervous system to become a better decision maker. And just how like if you look at the ultra rich, if you've ever had the experience to talk or sit with anyone that is part of the top 10% or even 1%, how grounded are most of them? I can't say all of them because I've not spoke to all of them and I've heard some of them are not, but that's okay. And maybe they're just not in certain moments. But how grounded are they? Right? In their power and their momentum and their potential and their curiosity. When you shift all of this frantic reaction mode to responsibility and responding, you shift this also into be, do, have. You don't go do something, have it, and then feel good. Be good. That's the being is the feeling. You be, do, have, not do, have, be. B comes before D and D comes before H, if that helps you remember this. Be, do, have. BDH. Being the version of you who already has, being the version of you who already trusts, being the version of you that already decides and ready to lead your actions in an aligned way to what you really desire. Not just want, but what you really desire. And then the results catch up fast. So can you hold space for your results? I don't know. I've never had this type of results before. Oh, I'm going to try to hold space. If you're grounded, you will be able to. If you're not, it'll be a little bumpy. But guess what? Enjoy the bumps. Enjoy the bumps. There are days that you probably wish you were where you are right now. Have you recognized that? Have you sat in appreciation of that? I could go deeper down on this topic, but I'm going to just give 2 quick client examples because I have one more thing I want to mention. One client kept delaying a launch. How many of you are guilty of this? Of her group program because she wasn't sure her audience was ready. How many of you are guilty of this as well? And sometimes group programs are great. They're not for everyone. I've never really launched a group program successfully, nor have I really tried hard. I've never really put both feet in. I was the one like straddling. All right, one-on-one, okay, groups, one-on-one, okay, groups. I'm more of a one-on-one type of person, but I love teams, like coaching teams. So I'm like, that's just who I am. That's what I like. That's all I kind of know. But if I would actually go all in on a group program, Maybe I would love that too. Who knows? So once we anchored her into the vision of who already had what? Sold out spots, she showed up differently. There was no neediness. There was no desperation. When you have a sold out group, how do you be? How do you feel? What is life like? What does the bank account look like? What does the health and vitality look like? What are your relationships like? What do all the facets of your life look like when you have sold out groups? She sat in that and led from that, decided from that, and lived from that vision. This is why the vision activations that I do are phenomenal if you take action from them. It's like energy work. You can do energy work all day. The second you go back to the world and start behaving in the old ways, the energy gets clogged again. I know, because this used to be me. I used to have people do energy work on me and they're like, yeah, I got this and this. But then I'm like, oh, I'm still feeling like this 2 days later. Well, I went back in there and yeah, you said you were going to do this and you didn't. You went back to old patterns and behaviors. We are creatures of patterns and behaviors. But once we know this, we can do better. She posted with clarity because she was living from and deciding from the vision. She pitched with conviction, living from and deciding from her vision. And within 10 days of deciding to move forward before she felt ready, she's like, I didn't even feel ready. I just did it. She filled up her program with 75% of the spots. And then the others were waitlisted because the timing just didn't work out. So she had 75% of the spots filled, and then she had waitlisted other people to fill up another group and cohort. Yes, my clients are quote unquote more successful than in other areas of their life. Absolutely. I used to be ashamed to admit that, but now I'm like, yes, I love it. I celebrate it because they're doing them and I'm supporting them. I'm not telling them how to do it my way. If I told them how to do it my way, it probably wouldn't work. And not in all aspects of their business, but I help this coaching. You help your clients make decisions based on what's aligned to them and their desires and their dreams and their goals. Not it's this way or the highway. That's why the coaching industry has such a bad rep. I'm going to be very soapbox in my truth on this. I've hired really good coaches that sucked for me because they were doing things I thought I wanted to do because it looked good, but it didn't feel good to me. Notice I said they're really good coaches that sucked for me. They weren't bad coaches, and I'm not even going to shout them out and give them a bad rep because they're amazing. I refer people to them still to this day, but they aren't for me because of what I'm in alignment to with my vision and what I desire. It's different. It's just different. It's not right. It's not wrong. It's just different. I have another client who was going to hold off and investing in one-on-one coaching until her next big month, until she had some more clients to afford it. I've been there. Has anybody else been there? But after one conversation, she realized that the waiting for the results before making the move, I call it before making the money move, was keeping her stuck in her loop. So what'd she do? She jumped in. And within weeks, she had her first 50K month. All from offers she had been sitting on for months. 50K month times 10 months sitting on, you do the math. It's $500,000. If you can do $500,000, you can do $1 million. The lesson, it cost her. There's no blame, there's no shame, but let's realize the fact it cost her. Feelings can be fleeting. Decisions are defining. Are we making decisions off of temporary feelings? Are we standing in our power and living from and deciding from our vision that we ultimately do want to define our life by? Moving from a vision, not fear. And then what do? You collapse time in between where you are and what you desire. This is all, by the way, in my Rise Up program. So I have a Rise Up self-study course that has multiple courses, working with the laws, unlocking time, money codes. Money codes, it can be bought solo. If you're like, yeah, I don't want all the other stuff. Well, you'll see once you're in money codes, all the other stuff makes sense. It all is interdependent on each other. But I offer money codes alone as its own self-study course. And then people will either opt into one-on-one coaching with it or not, or grab it later because it's all there. If you are disciplined enough to do the work and not check the box one and done, then money codes is for you. Rise Up is even for you. But if you're like, oh, I need some accountability and I want someone to bounce the concepts off of so they can really integrate and anchor it into who I be, that's option 2. I have spots available starting in July. There are no spots in June right now for one-on-one coaching. I do have someone available, but there are only 2. And no, I'm not starting a group yet. All right. Lastly, remember, move from a vision, not fear. And then you can collapse time. But money is a mirror. So what beliefs or fears are being reflected back? What beliefs or fears are being reflected back when you're giving your power away to money, or when you're stepping into your power with money? Again, it's working from both spectrums and both sides of this. Decision mastery equals money mastery, and money mastery benefits your decision mastery. Why do you think I have money codes in my Rise Up program, which is all about decision mastery? How do you think I became so good at this, at understanding decision mastery, when I've been on so thousands, tens of thousands of sales calls, watching how people make decisions and how I respond to that, how I decide to help them or not. There were many times where I was sold on their excuses and their circumstances, on their situations. And there were a few that came back and they're like, why did you let me do that? I'm like, I didn't have the tools to help you break through and have a breakthrough before you even paid us. Now I share those tools with anybody who wants the sales codes. It's the codes behind all sales strategy. And so I had a client who doubled her income just by jumping into decision mastery mode with a vision activation and applying the tools from the Rise Up. We didn't even get into sales codes. She just applied what was in the Rise Up program. And yeah, that's the beautiful part of this. It was from her vision and not the fear. And to fully trust herself with money. Do you fully trust yourself with money? And in order to do that, we must first what? Respect it. Give what you want to receive. You're like, I want to receive massive amount of money, but I don't have massive amounts of money to give yet. Give a little. Quantum leap it. Give 10 and watch you receive 100. Give 10 and watch you receive 1,000. Give what you want to receive. Referrals. Do you give referrals? That's free business to somebody. Do you want to receive more referrals? Yes. Give more referrals. I'm going to be honest. I did that a lot at the beginning of this year, and I broke away from it when life got busy. But I was most successful earlier this year, bringing in massive amounts of revenue because of that. Because I was referring like crazy, and I was being intentional. It's like every week I want to refer at least 2 or 3 people to 2 or 3 people that I just met online. It was awesome. And I had people amazed. Thank you so much for connecting me with Meredith. Thank you so much for connecting me with Jenny. Thank you so much for connecting me. And I was just like, yeah, you're welcome. Like I didn't have the tools that you think you need right now. And yeah, I know you could benefit from all this other stuff, but you weren't ready to hear it. So who am I? I'm not here to convince. Those are the old sales tactics. It's about standing your conviction, right? Keep it circulating. You cannot run out of money. There's always a way to make more. There's always ways to practice reciprocity. And working with the law of reciprocity, if you're like, what the heck is that? Get into the Rise Up program. There's a whole module on reciprocity. It's simple. And you're either working with the law or you're not. If you don't know it, you're probably working against it at times you don't even realize it. And if you need help with this, let's just have a call. We can do a one-on-one quick laser coaching call. We can do vision activation. You tell me what you're feeling called to do. And are you going to listen to that nudge? All right, this has already gone way over. I'm going to leave you with so much love. Remember, money is a mirror. Give what you want to receive. Do not make permanent decisions on temporary feelings. And remember, who and what are you allowing to define you and your worth? Because at the end of the day, in order to take your power back from money, we have to respect it. We have to receive it. We have to reciprocate it. And you are the only one that gets to choose when and how. All right, I'm going to leave you with so much love. Until next